Every year, on the 25th of April, Australia stops. The nation pauses to remember its fallen, the men and women who served, who suffered, who never came home. Anzac Day is the most sacred date on the Australian calendar. A day of silence, of remembrance, of gratitude. And then, sometime after the marches, after the ceremonies, after the last post echoes across the country, 90,000 people pour into the Melbourne cricket ground. And two of the most bitter rivals in Australian football go to war. This is the Anzac Day clash. Essendon versus Collingwood. The biggest home and away game in the AFL season. A fixture that was invented by one man, in a garden, on a quiet afternoon in 1994, and became something neither he nor anyone else could have ever predicted. This is the story of how it happened, and what it became. Kevin Sheedy is pottering around his garden in late 1994 when the idea arrives. He is the senior coach of Essendon Football Club. 3 premierships already to his name. A decorated playing career at Richmond before that, including 2 years of mandatory army service in 1969, something that left a permanent mark on how he thought about Anzac Day, about service, about what it meant to sacrifice. He remembers a game from 1977. Collingwood versus Richmond at the MCG on Anzac Day. He was still playing then. The crowd that day was enormous, the second biggest home and away crowd of the time. Something about the date, the occasion, the two teams, it had produced something extraordinary. Nothing had come close to it since. Sheedy begins making calls. He reaches out to the then CEO of the AFL. He contacts Essendon President David Shaw. He organises a meeting with Collingwood officials and, crucially, with Bruce Ruxton, the president of the Victorian RSL. Ruxton is a passionate Collingwood supporter. He is also, initially, resistant to the idea of football on Anzac Day. The RSL has long held that the day should remain sacred, untouched by sport. But Sheedy is persuasive. He doesn't want football to replace the remembrance. He wants it to extend it. To bring 90,000 people together on a day that most of Australia spends at a dawn service and then goes home. The meeting takes place at the Hilton Hotel in Melbourne. By the end of it, Ruxton has agreed. The AFL has agreed. The clubs have agreed. The first Anzac Day clash between Essendon and Collingwood is scheduled for Tuesday, April 25, 1995. Nobody has any idea what is about to happen. The morning of April 25, 1995 begins like every other Anzac Day. Dawn services across Victoria. The sound of the last post. Medals pinned to chests. Old men standing a little straighter. Young children learning the word sacrifice for the first time. And then, people start moving toward the MCG. At 12:30 in the afternoon, the crowds outside the ground are so massive that Collingwood coach Lee Matthews thinks the gates must still be locked. They are not. They have been open for hours. The crowd is simply that large. At 1:30 p.m., still 40 minutes before the first bounce, the gates are closed. Full. The MCG is at capacity. Outside, 20,000 people who couldn't get in are dispersed by mounted police. Thousands of them make their way to nearby Fitzroy Gardens, where they sit on the grass and listen to the match on portable radios. The official attendance, 94,825. The third highest home and away crowd in VFL and AFL history. On the very first edition of a game that had received almost no advance publicity. A game that nobody knew was going to be a tradition. A game that nobody knew was going to become the most important fixture of the home and away season. Sheedy is stunned. Matthews is stunned. The AFL is stunned. Nobody saw this coming. The match itself delivers everything the occasion demands. Essendon start the stronger side, leading by 16 points at half-time. The crowd, split down the middle in red and black and white, roars with every passage of play. Every tackle. Every mark. Every goal. In the third quarter, Collingwood fight back. They kick 7 goals to 2. They take a 14-point lead into the final quarter. Essendon dig in. They claw back. With time running down, a key Essendon player snaps a goal, and they lead by 6. Then Collingwood's tall forward takes a mark. A spectacular one. One of the marks of the year. He converts. The scores are level. Collingwood have a chance to win it in the dying seconds. The ball goes inside 50. A Collingwood player has the shot. He elects to pass to his teammate instead, and the play breaks down. The siren sounds. 111 all. A draw. 94,825 people leave the MCG, having watched one of the greatest home and away games in AFL history. A game that had never existed before that day. A game that immediately, irrevocably, became part of Australian sporting culture. 1995 is just the beginning. What follows over the next 3 decades is a collection of moments that Essendon and Collingwood supporters carry with them the way other people carry family photographs. Burned into memory. Impossible to forget. James Hird wins the first Anzac Day medal. Essendon win the game. They go on to win the premiership that year, and Hird, already a legend at the club, becomes synonymous with Anzac Day in a way that transcends football. Collingwood are back in the contest late in the third quarter. They've kicked back-to-back goals. The momentum is shifting. And then, Hird intercepts a clearing kick deep in Collingwood territory. He steadies. He takes his time, with a crowd of nearly 80,000 people completely silent. And he rams it through from just inside 50 metres. It is one of the defining goals in Anzac Day history. It turns the game. Essendon win. Essendon are in crisis. The supplement saga, which will eventually bring the club to its knees, is just beginning to unfold. Revelations, investigations, suspensions, all of it is already in the air. But on Anzac Day, the football field is still a place where some things can be resolved cleanly. Essendon captain Jobe Watson, who will later be at the centre of the supplements controversy, produces a moment that a crowd of 93,000 people never forgets. A boundary line snap, running at full pace, ball curling through the posts. Watson sprints back to the bench, fist pumping, the roar of the crowd shaking the upper decks of the MCG. Essendon win by 46 points. It is one of the great individual moments in Anzac Day history. And for Watson, for Essendon, for that battered and bruised football club, it is a moment of pure, uncomplicated joy in the middle of what is becoming a very dark year. Rain on the MCG. The ground slippery, the ball difficult, the conditions everything Anzac Day football is supposed to be: brutal, physical, unforgiving. Late in the match, with everything on the line, an Essendon small forward chases down a Collingwood player near the boundary. He shouldn't be able to catch him. The Collingwood player is bigger, faster, further ahead. But the chase doesn't stop. The tackle that follows, full-blooded, perfectly timed, becomes one of the most celebrated moments of the 2017 season. The crowd erupts. The commentator's call becomes immediately iconic. It is a moment that captures everything the Anzac Day game is supposed to produce. Not just great football. Great effort. The refusal to give up. Essendon win by 18 points. Joe Daniher kicks 3 goals. Zach Merritt finishes with 33 disposals. The world has been through 2 years of a pandemic. Football has been played in empty stadiums, in hub environments, in conditions nobody wanted and nobody chose. On April 25, 2021, Anzac Day, more than 78,000 people attend the MCG. It is the largest crowd for any sporting event in Australia during the entire COVID-19 pandemic. Darcy Parish, playing his 99th game, produces one of the performances of his career. He wins the Anzac Day medal. Essendon win the match. But the real story isn't the football. The real story is the crowd. 78,000 people who needed to be somewhere together, who needed football, and remembrance, and the MCG, and the feeling that some things were still the same. The second draw in Anzac Day history. Collingwood lead for most of the match. Essendon claw back. In the dying minutes, with 93,000 people on their feet, Essendon's Kyle Langford lines up for a set shot from 30 metres, almost directly in front. He kicks the behind. Not the goal. The scores are tied. The siren sounds. 85 all. 2 draws in 30 years of Anzac Day football. Both occasions leaving the MCG in stunned, breathless silence, and then a roar that shakes the foundations of one of the great sporting venues in the world. 30 editions. 30 years of Anzac Day football at the MCG. The attendance figures, unlike anything else in the home and away season. More than 90,000 on 10 separate occasions. More than 80,000 14 times. Crowds that rival the finals, for a regular season match between 2 clubs from Melbourne. Other clubs have lobbied to be included. Other cities have asked why only Melbourne gets this fixture, this crowd, this occasion. The AFL has resisted. Because what Essendon and Collingwood have built on Anzac Day is not a product. It is not a commercial exercise. It is something rarer than that, a genuine tradition, born from a single idea in a suburban garden, that grew into the most anticipated day on the AFL calendar. Kevin Sheedy is in his 80s now. When he thinks about that afternoon in 1994, the garden, the idea, the phone calls, he doesn't describe it as his greatest coaching achievement. He describes it as something else entirely. A way of saying thank you. April 25th. Every year. The marches. The ceremony.